Hi, I'm Katie, and this is eComm Unfiltered. Today I'm so excited to have Meghan Herman from HarperSage with us. She's been on some of our panels before. We did a panel for female founders in Austin, so that's when we first met.
Yeah.
And we're just really excited to have you today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Absolutely. So yeah, we can just kind of dive in. I'd love to learn just like a little bit more of like how you got started and maybe like the inspiration behind HarperSage.
Sure.
And like what HarperSage is for everyone listening.
Sure. So I'll start like kind of way back when, which I think you know a little bit about this, but that's okay.
Repeat, it's fine. I know, but like the people listening.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, I grew up in a big family, youngest of 5 kids, 3 boys ahead of me. And I just did whatever I could to keep up. So I was playing outside. I started playing soccer when I was younger. And so naturally, like the peers and adults in the neighborhood were quick to label me as a tomboy, which I didn't quite understand then. And then I did go on to play D1 soccer at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And you're a D1 athlete. You can kind of relate to this. But when you're 18, everything is so new. And it's such a high intense, like competitive situation. So I quickly kind of wanted an outlet for balance. And that happened to be like creativity.
Yeah.
So I chose to study textile design at UW-Madison. And I instantly fell in love with it. And then from there, I went to study at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York and kind of further studied fashion design. And so when post FIT, I worked for kind of what we call ultra femme brands in the industry. So I started off in high fashion at Carolina Herrera, kind of doing bridal gowns. And then I switched because I needed a salary.
Everyone needs a salary.
To work at Anthropologie in Philadelphia. So I designed for them for a couple years, and I just started getting really curious about supply chain. I could sketch these beautiful embroideries, but I had no idea where they would come from. So I moved back to New York, worked for a small contemporary brand, and that's where I had the chance to kind of think about things. And I was like, well, there was a running joke at Anthro and Carolina Herrera about like how my designs were too masculine. And I always thought that was kind of interesting because as women, we're multifaceted and, brands that continue to put women into one box, it just doesn't resonate as much. So as I was coming into my own as a designer, I'd be sent overseas to China and India to work with the mills and factories directly. And so it was on one particular trip where my eyes were just truly, truly open. And it was like, all right, do I leave the industry? Do I just put all this college to waste and like switch my career? It was just not a fun time. So that's where I decided to combine the two, like my love of celebrating multifaceted women and back it by a credible supply chain, working with women in factories. So in a long-winded nutshell, HarperSage is an ethical lifestyle brand that empowers multifaceted women through both community and style.
I love that. That wasn't a long answer because I feel like you need like some of the background story to really understand the brand, which kind of leads me to my next question. Like, so, you mentioned like I was an athlete and, these designers told me my designs were kind of masculine, but you also like to be in like sort of a femme? Is that how you say it? I'm like, am I saying that right? Like a femme, style as well. So I would love to hear like a little bit more about like, so HarperSage is the name, like part of the line is more of like a Harper and then the other is the Sage. Can you kind of explain like the different lines and really just kind of how you're like empowering that like individuality in women?
Yeah. So I think it kind of speaks to my personal story I just said. That I created these kind of 2 personas or muses in my head, but it could translate to anything. So the Harper girl is more of like my feminine city dweller. You can think of like flowy dresses, embroideries, a lot of floral prints. And then Sage is like casual, cool. You can think of jumpsuits, menswear inspired button downs. And just kind of showcasing like one day I could be in a jumpsuit, but then the next day I could be in a full-blown dress with heels and I'm the same person. And just more of translating our new modern dynamic lifestyle.
I love that. And I feel like at least for me personally, like there's days where like right now I'm in a dress and I can be a little more girly, but then there's other days where I just want to wear like sneakers, jeans, and a t-shirt or like how you have like a little button up. Like I just want to be a little more, I don't want to say like masculine, but just like a little bit more like casual. I don't always want to do this like feminine, like girly thing. So really love what HarperSage is doing because I feel like you're really like empowering those women to kind of be like, oh, you can wear like what you want and there's different styles and there's different, parts of being a woman.
Yeah, soft and strong kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I would love to like hear a little more about just kind of like, you know, you've touched on it, but like your experience starting out, maybe some difficulties you faced or just like learnings you kind of gathered at like the early starts of HarperSage.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So we were,
big question.
We were born November 2019, and so if you can remember, that was like a couple months before COVID.
Right.
So leading up to it, me being like a product person and supply chain person, I was so focused on just getting the first capsule out there.
Yeah.
But I was less experienced in like eComm and marketing, which is like funny now being on this podcast, but in general. And so part of my experience was, or the early experience was just one, really trying to figure out like, all right, I'm good at products, so let's just start there and just test. Like, does it sell even within my family and friend network? Yeah. And then I can kind of figure out the other piece, like the marketing pieces after.
Yeah.
So that was my original plan. But then all of a sudden, 3 months later, like COVID hits and just the whole world was like wobbly, like truly wobbly. March 2020 in New York shuts down. Our like photo shoot was like the day before. I'll just never forget it. And so I think that like a little bit of why I'm saying that is like part of it's like mental, like getting through that experience, like, all right, I just quit my corporate jobs, like to start this thing. And I got one capsule off the ground and like, yes, it sold well, but like I need to keep going. And the way we were going to do that is like through an SBA loan, but then the SBA loans weren't taking applications because they were focused on PPP loans. And so trying to stay both mentally like, all right, do I want to stick with this? As like, the world was kind of iffy. And how am I going to get through it creatively if I don't have product at the time because I sold out? So that was like my biggest experience, is just like understanding that you're not going to have it all figured out at once. It's going to have to be brick by brick, whether I like it or not. And then trying to have like the mental stability to work your way through that as well.
Yeah, I feel like I hear that a lot from founders. A lot of people, pretty much almost, I feel like everyone I've had on my podcast has been like, at the start, you're just kind of like figuring it out and you're kind of going with the flow and trying to figure things out as you go. So,
but it's weird to say it now, like in the moment, you're like, oh, it's like not all together. But I truly think it's the only way to just start.
Yeah, it's like you kind of just have to like dive in and like figure it out as you go, which I know can be like really scary. And like I know like I would love to start my own business and have like an e-commerce, online business, but I'm just like I don't even know where to start or whatever. And then I tell myself, and just like talking to people like you, I'm like, wow, you just kind of have to just go figure it out. Which is terrifying for me because I'm kind of type A where I like to have a plan and like know what the next steps are. So
I think we all are.
I think a lot of people are like, especially when you're putting in like all your like time and your money and you're like quitting your corporate job where you have like a steady salary. It's like kind of terrifying, but
absolutely.
But you did it. You found a way. Cool. So I would love to learn a little bit more about your experience in the fashion school that you went to. Like, what are some of the things you maybe learned there that you've like now kind of taken away from that experience and like kind of put into HarperSage?
Yeah, so my experience was unique because I had UW-Madison, which is like a state school 4-year program, and then I had the opportunity to do like an associate's at the Fashion Institute of Technology. So 2 different worlds already, and I think my biggest takeaway at UW was realizing like I loved textile design, but I always kind of felt like the odd man out, like running to practice with like indigo dyed hands while everyone
I feel this so hard.
Well, everyone else is like worrying about their like science test or something. I was worried about like how I was going to finish like my screen printing.
Yeah.
So just different. And then when I went to FIT, I was like, oh, okay, like
you can actually
I fit in here. Yeah, like, and so that's one of my takeaways was like, okay, this feeling of the way my brain thinks and my strengths, I belong.
Yeah.
And there's an environment to cultivate that. Right. But then the second thing was like moving to New York when you're 22, 23 years old. It just really opened my mind a lot. And a lot of my friends and a lot of the people at FIT are international students. So just being exposed to people from different countries. A lot of my friends were from Korea, and like learning about different life perspectives and how that translates into your workflow. That was my biggest takeaway from FIT. And then in terms of like academia, it was nice to kind of experience like you learn early about time management and project management, which a lot of creatives, that's probably like our weakness. But because I had that UW experience and because I had soccer, it was just a great combo for the two to try to like set me up for success. Like what I wanted. Yeah,
totally. I feel like I can relate because, like you said, like I was also a D1 athlete, so just kind of like I was in fashion merchandising with my major.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, fashion merchandising and product development. Yes. I like thought I would be a designer, but I'm not creative. I'm more like, anyways. But I digress. But I kind of can relate because I was like, oh, I need to go to swim practice, and straight from swim practice with my wet hair, reeking of chlorine, I'd have to run to these like fashion classes where all the girls were like always so dressed up, and I was just like, I love doing both. But
that's exactly
like, it was definitely like interesting to come to class with all these girls. Like,
oh my gosh, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly where this like little pinpoint of HarperSage started. Because I'd show up to fashion class with like my sweats.
I was in like my like Florida State like track suit that the swim team, you know, like they give you like tennis shoes and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I am so tomboy and I reek of chlorine, and I just came from like a 6 a.m. practice, but here I am.
My coaches are like, Herman, what the F are you doing? I'm like, I'm ready, put me in.
Yeah, and then the opposite of that, I'd be like, oh, I can't, you know, I have to like come late to swim practice because I have a textile lab or I have something going on. So that's funny. So when you said that, I was like, wait, we kind of majored in the same thing.
Doing embroidery on the back of the bus.
Learning I had to learn like every type of stitch. So I'm like on the like bus to the swim meet, like trying to learn how to stitch stuff.
I'm so happy. I've never had anyone else that had a similar experience.
I feel like that's when I first met you. I was like, wait, I can kind of relate on that level.
I love that. I love hearing that.
Yeah, you're not alone. Cool. So just kind of like switching gears a little bit. So fashion trends can change really quickly. How do you feel like you're staying ahead of the curve to, you know, obviously have your persona and like your HarperSage design, but like also staying like kind of trendy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think starting out with HarperSage, like I kind of knew actually that I didn't want to follow trends like as much, maybe as much as I learned in like my other jobs. Yeah. Because I wanted to be like a seasonless brand. I wanted to create a brand that was a little bit more aware of overconsumption or like sustainable practices. Yeah. So when I design, I obviously am aware of like the current landscape with trends, and but I actually kind of look more at like psyche trends rather than like, all right, puff sleeves are in this season. I try to like design what would last like 5 years in somebody's wardrobe and what could mix and match with like what you already have. And so I don't know if that necessarily answers your question. I keep up with it, but I don't know if I necessarily translate it all the time to HarperSage.
How are you? Like, are you just like sketching designs in like a workbook, or do you have like software? Like, what do you use?
I'm old school, or that's how I was trained. I hand sketch everything. Both Caroline Herr and Anthro like required hand sketching. But nowadays, like the youngins, they're all the Procreate on the iPad, which is cool. Like I'm teaching myself that now. I'm just not as comfortable. In Illustrator flats, but no, I like to just whip out.
I feel like it'd be
pencil and paper.
Sometimes I'm like, technology is great, but you don't need it for everything.
Yes.
I like the old school. Like I just want
something nice
paper, please, or pencil and paper. Yeah. Oh, love that. Cool. Okay, switching gears again, like kind of more into like marketing and stuff. But so I follow HarperSage on Instagram. I've been following since we first met, and I noticed that you opened this retail store. Or I guess we just talked about this before. It's not really a retail store. It's more of like a showroom. But I would love to just like hear a little bit more about that and what kind of inspired you to open the showroom.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So as you know, we started off and are primarily an e-commerce company. But what was interesting was post-COVID, like our customers were kind of wanting to seek us out in person. So we started dabbling with third-party partnerships. Like we're in Neighborhood Goods over here on South Congress, where somebody could go in and try on. And then I started doing like pop-ups where people could come in and try on, even though they may have bought online. And so I started seeing that trend, and it's like, well, if I could just have a space that's connected to the office and to the fulfillment center, that would help just like people here local to come in and try on. And just kind of a stepping stone into where I think HarperSage may go, or just like a bridge of the two. Yeah. So that's kind of how we're treating it, as like a physical kind of storytelling manifestation of the HarperSage eComm brand.
Yeah, it looks really cute. I haven't been yet. I need to go. But it just looked really cute. So if you're in Austin,
yes,
it's on the east side. Where is it located?
It's in Canopy Artist Studios.
Canopy Artist Studios. Is that off Springdale? Springdale.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So if you're in Austin, check it out.
Yes.
So how are you balancing, like I said, I am following you on Instagram, so I know just from our conversations or things I've seen, it's definitely hard to manage e-commerce store, personal life, all the things. How have you been? First of all, because I know last we talked, you were like, this has been a rough day.
Yeah.
So how are you just kind of balancing everything and how are you doing with all of that?
It's a roller coaster. Yeah. And I think I've just accepted that when I talk to other founder friends, everyone experiences it. So, some days are better than others. Mm-hmm. And usually what it is, it's personal life, exceptional. Business life, ooh, wobbly. Or business, woo, and then personal life, wobbly. Yeah. So balance, I don't know right now if I've achieved that, although I'm working towards it. Yeah. And so I think for me, throughout these, I'm going on almost 4 years of HarperSage, I've realized a lot about myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm definitely a sprinter. Yeah. So what happens is, I take off to India, I design a capsule, we photo shoot it, we get it up on the site, and then I'm I can breathe. And then I need a break. Whereas this one a month ago was all right, let's whip up the showroom, let's get that into action while maintaining the business, you're talking about the e-commerce part. Yeah. And I think what happened is I was coming at the end of a sprint. It's I need to be better about knowing that about myself and almost baking in my workflow. All right, you just had a massive sprint, you're gonna need a couple of days off to just reset. Yeah. Otherwise, I can get a little bit wobbly. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that because I'm definitely a sprinter. I want to get everything just out there and launch it quick and
quick. Even in my work, I'm I just want to get it done. I want to just get it done. Yeah. And then I immediately will sometimes jump into the next thing, and then I'm overwhelmed. Right. I'm still finishing up the last project maybe, but also starting something else. So. And it's important to know that because a lot of people. My husband's probably more of a long, a marathon, slow and steady, and some of my other past coworkers. And so it's you really learn a lot, who kind of where you fall, and just know that about yourself and adjust. Yeah. So I'm Meghan, this is going to happen. Why don't you just? I think the same thing. I'm always that's going to happen, or you're going to face burnout, or you're going to hit a wall where you're just overwhelmed with everything going on. Right. So just learning how to maintain it for yourself. Yeah.
Your own internal workflow kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully, I know it's been tough with opening the showroom and doing all of that, but maybe you'll find some time to take breaks.
Yes. This past weekend I did. But yeah.
Oh, good. What did you do this past weekend?
I played with our new puppy. We played.
Oh, you got a puppy?
Yes.
What kind of puppy?
A mini Bernedoodle.
Oh, she's so cute. So cute. I bet she's gonna be huge.
Mini. So she'll be 25 pounds. Okay. Not the big 100 pounds, but we played a lot of Catan and just non-HarperSage.
Yeah, non-HarperSage thing. Yeah, that's good.
Now I feel back a little bit, so it's good.
Good. Glad you have some time for yourself. Okay, so again, I'm saying I follow you because I do, but I follow you on HarperSage, and I've noticed I've seen a lot of ads lately, and so I'm curious if that's something new you've picked up, or if you've just seen the most success from that, so you put more energy into that, because I've just been seeing a lot of ads, so I'm kind of curious.
No, it's a great question.
What works best for you?
So ironically, we just started doing paid ads 3 months ago. Okay. So going on year 4, that's kind of crazy as an e-commerce brand, right? Yeah. So it's a new arena for us that we've been, like I said, kind of bootstrapped brick by brick, and we were finally at a place where it's all right, let's invest in the foundation of that digital footprint with ads. And so, we've been testing and reiterating, never say that word. So, that's probably why you're seeing different types as we're kind of testing.
I feel I've seen different, it's never the same image and copy. I've noticed it's been different. Yeah. So to the point where I'm oh, I thought this was just a post, and then you can tell it's clearly an ad. I'm oh, good for you. I'm good for Meghan. Yeah. Look at her go.
And the exciting part is we are, as everyone kind of starts off, the first month or so, you're figuring it out, and we still are, but it's nice to actually see momentum happening, and just kind of the power that you can have behind ads. But the cool thing about HarperSage and how we've built this is I'm not going to be reliant on it. because that's where like a lot of, you know, the D2C bubble, everyone has been talking about has bursted. And so having that like discipline of like, all right, ads are there to supplement my e-commerce business, but I'm not going to build a business solely on ads, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
But for me, as someone who was and has been bootstrapped, it's like, whoa, like this is so cool. Like you can get so many eyeballs in front of your brand and the potential behind it. That's been exciting to see.
That's cool. I'm curious, like, what you were doing before, because you said it's like, you know, year 4 and you're just now doing like paid ads. So
I know.
Just kind of curious, like, what your efforts were prior to that.
Yeah, efforts were a lot of like almost tying in like field marketing, like grassroots on the ground field marketing, but then tying it back to e-commerce because we don't have like we never had a brick and mortar store.
Right.
And so we were heavily reliant on like our ambassador program. But it's not like a true ambassador program. Like it's definitely not like a MLM type thing. Or here are ambassadors and like they get a free clothing item and they just like throw up the discount code everywhere. We tried to cultivate, or we are trying to cultivate like little communities in different cities. And so what we would see is like on the ground work of women coming together, and then HarperSage would naturally come up in the conversation. And then it takes time, but like slowly and trickling, like you would see, okay, if we had a duo crew in Nashville, like we would get more orders in from Nashville from the area. And so we can't help but attribute that to the ambassador program.
The ambassadors,
And then get them into our email list and kind of have it come that way. And every time we launch like a new capsule, the people on our email list, like they would receive like the full blown catalog first to like order.
Oh, that's cool.
So kind of like treating that as like the VIP list.
Oh, I love that. That's smart because I feel like a lot of people like are, I don't know, maybe in like more of the fashion, but I haven't met any like e-commerce sellers that have really done something like that.
So and then they stick with like once they know their size, then they feel more comfortable keep coming back online on their own to do it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I know I'm this size, so I can just like buy online without having to like try it on. That's cool. That's a good way to like kind of keep that like that loyalty and just keeping the same shoppers coming back. Cool. Smart. Look at you. That's so smart. Awesome. So can you tell us about maybe like a memorable customer experience you had where like something that just like stood out to you, like a customer said something to you or left some sort of review or just like shared encouragement?
There's always like a couple. So this is like a little bit of a hiccup with e-commerce is like you can't really see the person. It's not like they're in a dressing room trying on. And so with that, like we try to go the extra mile of accommodating. So like customer service has to be on point. But the thing is like jumpsuits are difficult to fit. So I know that this one woman wanted a jumpsuit really bad. She tried the size, it didn't work. And I could tell she was like disappointed, even through like, you can just tell through like with the tone of their text or their messages. And so I actually went to India in March and like, I just did a custom jumpsuit for her, like just did the measurements. And she was like floored. Like I'm talking.
I mean, yeah, because you went all the way to India just to make a custom.
No, not just for the custom jumpsuit.
Oh, I was like, you went all the way to India just for this one customer? I was like, I should be much more of a loyal customer.
No, I was going there already to design the capsule, but I was like, all right, let me just like put this on my to-do list because it's easy when I'm there. Just be like, hey, okay, these are the off measurements. Let's go. Fit her perfectly. She can't speak highly enough about HarperSage, and it's just like fun to kind of receive those messages and. I joke that my love language is words of affirmation. So I actually keep all of like screenshots of like customer testimonials or like feedback so that when those do low days happen, I do try to pull them out and like read them.
People are appreciating like the effort I'm putting in. That's awesome. Words of affirmation. I'm acts of service. So
okay.
If you're like doing something for me, I'm like, thank you.
Good.
I'll appreciate it. Noted for anyone in this room. I'm just kidding. Okay, so kind of switching to like more of like a funny question.
Sure.
What's the funniest thing you've ever purchased on a social media ad?
Oh gosh, funniest?
Or just like most random, or like I don't know. I've had answers across the board.
You know, it's funny because like being in the space, it's like like I'm almost like rebelling, like don't buy from the ad. Like
I do that too. I'm like no more ads.
Yeah,
but then I'm like wait,
because it's like cool. Feeding, like it's targeting. But I did buy a sensor. Called them.
Oh, like a heart rate monitor? Like
not a heart rate, a glucose monitor. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And like, I can't believe I bought that off
just
of
for diabetes.
Questions like no. I have
like do diabetes.
I have endometriosis.
I don't
really know what that is.
Yeah, I do.
But so I was just curious about like how to try to fix some dietary things, and the algorithm read my mind and tried me this sensor. And I still like I can't believe I bought that off an ad. So
random. That's random. Yeah, I've heard much more random. Like I think we had the Elevate Tanya and Diana on the podcast, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm buying like colostrum. I got it on like an Instagram ad. I was like, I don't even know what it's like. What was it? Emma's in the room. It's like
it was
cows.
like cow. It was like the first milk after like a cow has had a baby, but it's like the first milk is like. I'm like, how do you even get that?
There must be some
and there was like some health benefits to it. I don't even remember what it was.
It all goes into health.
Yeah, I was like, that's so random. Well, I didn't buy. Well, I haven't bought it yet, but I keep getting hit with this bowl. So I'm about to pull the trigger on it, but apparently it knows I've been crushing a lot of Harry Potter lately. I think with the writer's strike, there's just not as many shows or new things out. So I'm like, you know what? My go-to Harry Potter.
Sure.
It's cozy. It's almost fall. So I've been watching a lot of Harry Potter, and I keep getting hit with this ad for these like the hanging like candles that are on like fishing wire, and so you can't really see. They just look like they're floating candles. And there's a wand, and you can wave the wand to turn the lights on. And I keep getting hit with the ad, and I'm like, do I need the hanging lights at Halloween and like, have a wand?
Actually, that would be kind of cute.
So that's I haven't purchased it yet, but I keep getting hit with the ad, and my algorithm's working the targeting's working really hard to get me, and it's about to.
So funny. I love that. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah. So and like that e-commerce seller's probably doing great because people are probably like, wait, that's so cool, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So I guess we'll kind of wrap it up with just like what are your future goals and sort of like what do you see the future of HarperSage looking like?
The future of HarperSage, I definitely see continuing to build off of the digital marketing presence, like our D2C. We'll still do third-party partnerships, but like really kind of flipping the 60-40 to 40-60 with more focus on D2C. Mm-hmm. And then definitely I see like an omni-channel approach of HarperSage and physical brick and mortar concept store. I have like a vision for it. So I really want to try to keep working towards it. I think marrying the two is like where we'll best sit at.
Yeah, I feel like that's really the only way you can like really grow, especially since you seem to have like a good customer base here in Austin. So kind of starting here and expanding.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Cool. So before we wrap up, if you just want to like tell everyone where they can find HarperSage and follow along, or where they can shop online.
Yeah. So you can shop at harpersage.com. Customer service is top notch, as you know.
Because is it you?
Okay. It's me.
It's the
part-time gal. And you can find us at Shop HarperSage on Instagram. And then if you are in Austin or you swing by in Austin, you can shop in real life at our showroom, which we call the Duo Studio on the east side.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it was like so great to have you and see you again.
Yes, you too.
We'll hopefully do some more stuff in the future with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. That's an episode of eComm Unfiltered.